You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Really looking forward to today's weight loss and Wednesday show. And the reason is that this question today, a lot like yesterday's, was a popular reader, popular listener question. So every weekend, you know that we do our Cabral House Call where we answer about 6 to 8 questions that come in from the community. I love doing those as well, but sometimes there's a theme to questions. The same 6 or 8 questions just get asked every month or so in a slightly different way. And some of those questions, or what they surround around, is the thyroid and how it leads to you becoming overweight and unhappy. And the interesting thing is I've spoken about the thyroid quite in depth in the past. I want to talk about it a little bit from a different angle today. And the reason why it's so important is that because it's all true, meaning that a lot of people are struggling right now to lose weight or improve their mood overall, or even if they're feeling cold all the time. And it's because they have a lowered thyroid. And so meaning like those are real symptoms of a real dis-ease of the body, whether it's hypothyroidism or functional low thyroid, which doesn't even show up sometimes on a lot of labs, as well as Hashimoto's. And so when we look at that, we're looking at it from a functional medicine perspective, understanding that the body never messes up. That's a naturopathic perspective. And why the body starts to, we call it malfunction, but again, it's never really malfunctioning. It's actually just shutting down, going into hibernation mode, which I've spoken about before, for a specific reason. So again, if we can just keep in mind today, just keep in mind that the body never messes up. And if we can understand that, then we can see why your body may be suffering from a lowered thyroid or low thyroid symptoms. And of course, again, many of us know those low thyroid symptoms, but it's thinning of hair on men and women, thinning of the eyebrow on that last lateral third. It can be skin issues, dry skin, bloating. It can be cold hands, cold feet, cold overall body temperature. Of course, the weight gain that we talked about, water retention, a little bit of swelling, lower mood, many, many different symptoms that go along with low thyroid. But if you think about it, really, I like to call it the hibernation mode. And of course, I'm not the first person to ever say that, but hibernating is a great analogy for what the low thyroid does. And if you think about it, why would an animal put itself into hibernation mode? And it would put itself into hibernation mode when it's basically retiring for the season, right? During the winter, it might be slowing down its metabolic processes. And that's why I don't want to talk about this just in terms of weight gain overall, but it's slowing down of all metabolic processes to essentially stay alive. And the hibernation process, again, I'm not an expert on the animal kingdom, but I do love the animal kingdom. So if there's not going to be a lot of food for the winter, and that would be a great time to slow metabolic process after eating a big harvest during the fall. So an animal would maybe eat lots of tubers and root vegetables and apples, and it would eat fatty meats and all those different types of things. And that would help to that would help to actually gain weight, increase essentially insulin, store more body fat, and that would then put on body fat for the winter to allow that animal to live off its own fat. Well, here's the thing. With humans, it's a little bit different because we don't hibernate. We actually still stay in a stress-based state. And that's what I have to explain today. The difference between low thyroid and just a hibernation state is that you're not going to be tapping into your body fat. And one of the reasons is this, is that your thyroid is almost like, it's like a radar. And it's a radar for what's going on in the body in terms of stress, but it doesn't work alone. Okay, I've explained this before, but it's really lost. It's even lost in functional medicine, as wonderful as functional medicine is that the hypothalamus pituitary, so in the brain, you have your hypothalamus and your pituitary, and they're really like a command center. They really are. They send the signals out, the hormones out, to tell what your other organs should do. And in this case, we're talking about the adrenal glands. So we'll think of them as the kind of stress feedback loop. And we'll think of your thyroid as your metabolic process. So you can't really talk about the adrenals without talking about your thyroid. It's almost, or I should say, you can't talk about your thyroid without talking about your adrenals. Almost impossible. And the reason is this, is that if you're under a lot of stress, and the stress can come from many different reasons, like it's not just always work, life, relationships, loved ones, although a lot of the time it is, without a doubt, a lot of the time it is. It's that psychology, your brain affecting your physiology, which is the adrenals and how they produce norepinephrine and cortisol, glucocorticoids, which puts stress in the body. And again, it's not messing up. You actually believe that you're in a stress-based state, but believe it or not, that stress-based state, and again, I said it doesn't just come from work life, it can come from gut-based dysfunction, leaky gut, SIBO, IBS, candida overgrowth, parasites. It can come from food-based sensitivities. That's a big one nobody ever thinks about. It's just even eating healthy foods that you're sensitive to. If you've never tested, well, that could just be an onslaught of inflammation and immune system reaction every time you eat these certain proteins. It can be from heavy metals. It can be from plastics, some xenobiotics. So a lot of different things within the body can cause stress, but no matter what, that stress actually starts to shut down the thyroid-based process. And it does that for very, very specific reasons. A few of the ways it does it is actually blocking the receptors inside the cells. Now, I should say on the outside of the cells. Now, without getting too much into the biochemistry, why does that matters a lot? Because just like if blood sugar can't get in the cells, so a lot of people are blocked in terms of insulin receptors or blood sugar receptors. And that means that the outside, so their blood has lots of sugar in it, but inside the cell, the mitochondria and the actual organelles inside the cell themselves aren't getting the sugar they need, because a lot of people think, well, you're just supposed to be burning fat all day. Well, your body actually likes to burn glucose. You just don't want high glucose. Like that's the whole conundrum we're at here, is like we always throw the baby out with the bathwater and it makes zero sense, but I understand why we got there, and that's because we live in a high processed food society. Well, what if you're a person not eating high processed foods? Do you really need to cut out all of your carbohydrates? Yeah, the answer is no. I'll just give you the quick answer. But what I'm saying from this perspective is just like insulin can get blocked from too much hydrogenated oils and fats and too much processed food, you can actually have T4 get blocked to get into the cell to make an activated T3. It can get blocked for many different reasons. Heavy metals is just one of those reasons. Higher levels of estrogen, toxicity within the body is a huge one. So again, if there's a lot of toxic-based environment, that's going to be a big cause. And then the other factor is if you are over exercising in terms of time, distance, long aerobic-based cardio, that can put your body into a little bit more of a stress state, which says we need to eat more calories. And then if you eat more calories, well, then you're all set. But a lot of people are doing the long distance exercise and trying to cut their carbs as well. Well, now your body says, okay, so you're starving me and you're making me do extra work. Okay, I'm going to slow down my metabolic rate, meaning my thyroid, in order to keep up with these demands because I'm not getting the nutrients that I need. So I need to slow down the metabolic processes to stay alive. Again, this is your body in all of its brilliance, in all its beauty, and all of its wonder, doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It never messed up. At no point did it mess up. We live in an environment that is messed up, and that's why your thyroid is breaking down. So if we understand that, we can say, okay, well, stress in all of its ways, in all ways. And again, I talk about this in my new book, something that I can't wait to get to you. And it just basically reverses the process. We're not looking at magic here. It seems like magic when people have tried for a decade to get well, and I speak with them over Skype, or they're in our office, or they run one of our lab tests, or whatever it might be, and we start to explain the process to them, and we just break it down. And when they see it broken down, they're like, I guess that's not that bad. And so then they can implement it, and then they implement it, and then they get the results, and they said, I can't believe that this worked. And the reason is, again, it's not magic. And the reason is, if it was magic, it would be a problem. And magic's a problem because we don't know how it worked, right? We love it. It looks great. We're amazed, but we can't replicate it except for the magician. And that's not what I want. I don't want to be the magician. I want to be the person who basically pulls back the curtain so that everyone understands how to do this for their own body, so that when something else goes wrong, and inevitably it will, it's life. That's the way that life works. We keep ourselves healthy as best we can. And then if something starts to go wrong, well, we can understand the mechanisms by which it may have gone awry. And when that happens, we say, okay, well, I need to get back to the processes that I know help to correct the underlying imbalances for what I'm currently suffering from. When you could think of it from that perspective, it becomes almost simple, almost crystal clear. And that clarity is what allows you then to take action, because nobody likes to take action if it's going to be a waste of time. I don't either. I typically don't. I'll procrastinate for months if I do not know that this will lead me down a certain path that I want to success. And because we only have so much time, I understand that. You don't want to do things for your children, your partner, whatever it is, if you don't think there's a payout. And the payout isn't always just, obviously it's not monetary. It's through health, it's through happiness, it's through all of these things, right? we don't want to take a vacation if we don't think the place is going to be a good time, right? And so it's all of these things we look at as we need to have the verifiable facts. And so with this, what I want you to do is just to give you a little bit more context for this show, is that I spoke a lot about how the actual thyroid breaks down. And I would like you to go back to those shows because they're 15 minutes long each and they give you so much context if you're struggling right now with your weight. Because I'll tell you this right now, it's not calories in, calories out. It's simply not. Like, that is a harsh non-reality that people have been fed to believe that, oh, well, you just need to eat less. When I can tell you right now, people in my practice who can eat 3,000 calories a day, and let's say they're women and they're 5'4", and one stays 120 pounds, and the other one eats 3,000 calories and they're 180 pounds. They're both 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", whatever it might be. And the reason is metabolism. We're talking about metabolism. We're not really talking about calories in, calories out, because I know people in my practice who are literally starving themselves. They've come in and they say, okay, I'm eating, or I'm not eating at all. I skip breakfast and lunch. I only eat dinner, and I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day. Well, 1,000 calories a day isn't really enough food. Like, it's just not. So how much? And then, okay, you're not losing weight at 1,000 calories. So what do you go down to? 800, and you lose a couple more pounds. Okay, and then what do you go to? 600 to lose a couple more? Like, this is a zero-sum game. Like, you're not going to win that game. You're only going to further hurt your metabolic rate. So I want you to listen to episode 593. So StephenCabral.com/593. That's the 4 toxins that slow your thyroid and metabolism. It's so very important that you listen to that. That is on basically understanding that there are heavy metals and there are contaminants in the environment, some that you probably haven't heard of. Like, you may not have heard of bromines or bromide before. And that's why you have to tune into these shows. Again, they're all context. It's all about education. And I try to just walk you through this process. Whether you work with us, you work with a functional medicine doctor in your area, or a functional medicine coach, or you work with a great nutritionist, or whoever you work with, you need to know why someone's asking you to do the things that they're asking you to do. Because if you don't, I really find it hard to believe you're going to be consistent with those actions, especially since we're talking about low thyroid and the fix doesn't happen tomorrow. Okay, if you get a fix that happens tomorrow, I'm telling you right now, that will not be a long-term fix. That will be a shortcut Band-Aid based approach. And you know, when you pull that Band-Aid off, it's not going to look good under there, because what you did was you just worked surface level to cover up the issues at hand. Okay, so when you listen to 593 for those toxins that you need to remove from your life, and then I want you to listen to episode 600. Episode 600, I'll just give you these right now, but it's the 2 minerals that you're missing to boost your thyroid. So what happens is this. You have 2 main minerals. There are others as well, but I just want to mention them for you. But still, again, listen to the show because it's 15 minutes long and it gives you context. It tells you even if you're eating these 2 nutrients I'm about to tell you about, why they still might be depleted. And the reason is because of some of those heavy metals, because of other things in your body that's using them up faster. So the first mineral that you absolutely do need is iodine. And no, you shouldn't get it from table salt, because table salt also contains other things like aluminum or chlorine or bleach. So we don't want that. Yes, you can get it from sea salt, Himalayan sea salt, pink salt, rock salt, Celtic salt, or Redmond's real salts are all acceptable. Okay, but it's still not enough iodine, because iodine is not added to sea salt. Iodine is added to iodized table salt, which again is not healthy for you. So you want to get your iodine, and again, I gave lots of different places that you can get it on that show. So you can go back there. But one of the easiest ways to get it, which again, we just don't get in the US and a lot of these industrialized nations, is from sea-based vegetables. And sea vegetables are actually delicious, maybe not to eat by themselves, but to absolutely add to dishes that you're currently eating now. Very, very simple. Nori, crinkles, dulse, just a bunch of great seaweed type things. Again, you can add them as dried out, which I like to do, as crinkles, just to a dish, gives a nice little texture. But you can also take it as a supplement, which typically we're doing as well. I just like to give people both the food version and the supplement version so they can do what works for them. I prefer the supplements. It works faster. It's guaranteed to work because you can actually give someone an exact dosage. But again, you can do both, and I do both. So I like using the best of whole food, and I like using the best of functional medicine because, again, why not? Like, why not use the best of both? Selenium. Selenium is that other mineral. Okay, why does this matter so much? Well, okay, let's step back. Selenium and iodine can both become depleted when you're swimming in a pool, you don't have a filter off for your tap, drinking in chlorine, you are showering without a shower filter. Any of these things, they can become depleted. They can actually become blocked as well. So super, super important. Selenium is used for detoxification. I mean, it's an anti-cancer antioxidant as well. So it's needed for phase 1 and phase 2 detox. We literally give people about 200 micrograms a day when they're doing the Dr. Ball detox to make sure that they're properly detoxifying. And again, it's one of over 100 things that we use and the reason why it works so well. Again, scientifically verified. It's just not stuff that we're having some fun with. And one bonus mineral that I didn't mention on episode 600, the 2 missing minerals, is zinc. Zinc is so important. It really is. Zinc is great not only for the thyroid, but it's really great for tissue repair, and it's great for metabolism. It's an anabolic-based mineral, and it's great for the adrenals as well. So I'm a huge fan of that. I'm a huge fan of adaptogens too. So adaptogens, items like ashwagandha, fantastic. You could use some rhodiola, you could use some maca, you could use some eleuthero, but ashwagandha is really the one that's more so proven. It's just so fantastic because it helps you better handle stress. And I don't mean, maybe there's someone out there. I know there's a couple people that are in Zen-like states, but I think most of us need a little bit of ashwagandha in our life. That's just the way it is. It's so good for, if you get too high, it helps bring you down to normal. And if you get too low, it helps bring you up a little bit. That's the beautiful thing about adaptogens. Ashwagandha has so many clinical research studies on it. You can actually look up the clinical research behind it as well. So let's wrap up. Let's really talk about what you can do. Well, let's talk about how your thyroid, again, why does your thyroid make you overweight? Why does it make you unhappy? Well, I didn't talk about the unhappy part as much. Well, I'll pull together that right now. So essentially, when your body gets stressed, whether it's from heavy metals, gut-based dysfunction, inflammation, food sensitivities, parasites, any of these things, or low-calorie diets or over-exercise, any of these things can stress the body. When that happens, your body responds with stress, okay? It responds with norepinephrine. It responds with glucocorticoids and cortisol from the adrenals. And then your body says, okay, well, let's slow down everything, all processes. Let's even slow heart rate maybe as well. Let's slow circulation. Let's slow thyroid. Let's slow calorie burning. All of these things, even protein metabolism, you start to see the hair thin or hair fall out, okay? So what happens then is the thyroid becomes slower, whether T4 can't actually convert to activated T3, or T4 could actually become just reverse T3 because it's not being used, or it is being blocked by something called cortisol or glucocorticoids. When that happens, reverse T3 is essentially unusable, and we can't make that work for boosting the metabolism. So what do? Well, we start to detox the body. And again, go back to the show 593 just for some context on how to get these heavy metals out of your body. You could certainly do lymphatic massage. You can do infrared sauna. You could do a Dr. Cabral detox. You could do a heavy metal detox as well. They all work great. We'll link up everything today in the show notes. Just go to stephencabral.com/628. I'll give you every single link that we talked about today. Obviously, those two podcasts I'll link up as well. And you get those nutrients that you need. You can get your favorite brand selenium and adaptogens and zinc and iodine, all that great stuff. Or you can use our Equilibrium Nutrition brand, which is daily thyroid support. It not only contains all the minerals you need, but also the adaptogens as well. My favorite thing to do is try to create synergistic-based products, which means you have to take less capsules or less stuff per day and more in one kind of all-for-one product. That works phenomenally well. Really, really simple to use as well, breakfast and dinner. And the other thing you could do is you could do two different lab tests, but I'm just going to give you, well, I'll explain both because I want to give you everything. Okay, so the first one you could do is the thyroid adrenal hormone panel, also called the weight loss panel. It's phenomenal. I mean, it really is. It's going to give you in-depth on your thyroid. It's going to look at your cortisol levels throughout the day, all 4 times during the day. It's going to look at your estrogen. It's going to look at your progesterone. It'll look at your vitamin D. It will look at your insulin. It's an amazing test. It really is. It's one of my favorites, hands down my favorite. If you're trying to lose weight and you're thinking about, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Honestly, this is the test. Like, this is first. And then you could think about another one after that, whether it's a food sensitivity test, an organic acids test, or a hair tissue mineral analysis. One of those, would be fine. Or omega-3 test to look at your inflammation. So the other test is the comprehensive thyroid or the complete thyroid. And the reason why this is nice as well is, yes, it gives you your complete thyroid. It gives you your TSH, T4, T3. It gives you a lot of great numbers, to be honest. But it also looks at your iodine and selenium levels, plus a lot of the toxic heavy metals that are slowing your thyroid. And those would be arsenic and a few of the others, again, that I mentioned on episode 593. So that's a great one too. Again, if you're looking at your overall thyroid, but you're not really in a weight loss issue, then I would go with the complete thyroid or comprehensive. But if you're looking to lose weight, then I would do the weight loss test, or the other name we call it is the thyroid plus adrenal plus hormone. And again, we'll just link it up in today's show notes. Hopefully today's episode was fairly comprehensive to show you that it's really not you, meaning like you're probably doing great and you don't have to be perfect. Like, you're not supposed to be perfect in order to lose weight. That's the struggle that I don't want people to have to deal with. There is a real thing going on. It has more to do with your metabolism than it has to do with how much you exercise and how much you eat. It does matter. I mean, you can't eat 5,000 calories a day and you can't not move your body. But if you move your body 3 days a week, or maybe even 4 every other day, and you are eating a whole food, like good nutritious diet, you really should be able to lose weight. I mean, there are details to it. We talked about that obviously on many, many shows. But if it's been a struggle for you, I highly recommend looking into this. Really appreciate your time today. I hope that this helped. I hope that answered everyone's question who's been writing in, because I am going to keep linking back to the show to get people the information and the context that they deserve. Thank you everyone once again for tuning in to another Cabral Concept. If this show helped, please do feel free to share it with someone else that it could help as well. Take care.
Ever wonder what the best sauna, blue blockers, sleep trackers, wake lights, salt lamps, or other health gadgets are? Or what about the top non-toxic mattresses, sheets, soaps, bath products, toothpaste, and cookware? Or would you like to know the cleanest choices for hemp parts, meal delivery services, supplements, and much more? I personally curated, researched, and now created a resource page of all of my top picks that continues to grow each week. These are the exact products I use in my own life, with my family, in my private practice, and they're the ones I trust. To find out all of my up-to-date recommendations and all the details, simply head on over to stephencabral.com/resources.